In case you haven't guessed by the title, we're going to be talking about Animaniacs, specifically the new era. Also, in case you're wondering, yes, you should go watch it. Go watch it right now. If you don't have Hulu, break into someone's house who does, watch that shit. But I digress. Let's get into the reasons why I say that. But before I go that deep, be made aware there will not be many spoilers. In fact, there really won't be anything you haven't already seen in a trailer. And in fact, all footage, if not picture related, will come from the actual trailers of the new iteration of the show. Maybe small glimpses and pieces and smidgets and smackerels of original stuff. But keep in mind, this was made well before the HD era was commercialized or even in popular consciousness, let alone the collective. So a lot of old imagery is 4:9. And the animation drawing style is, well, exactly what you would expect in the 90s in North America. Although last I checked, this thing was animated primarily in South Korea, if memory serves. I'll look into that later. So yeah, one of the primary things we're going to be talking on is casting. After that, we're going to go into animation quality or animation detailing. Then after that, the meat and potatoes with a side of shrimp barbecue sauce, which I don't think is an actual thing. The story and writing. All right, so about the casting. Yes, the originals are all here. I don't care who it is you liked. Maybe it's Jess Harnell, wacko. Maybe it's Maurice LaMarche. I'm not sure. Brain, he's here. Trey McNeil, Dot, of course. Rob Paulson, I would literally run in someone's house who works on this show and demand they rehire him and immediately get arrested and or shot at. Even the lesser known characters that a lot of people have forgotten about, let me reassure you, if they played those characters, they're back. Also, fun fact, you're gonna see some other cartoon characters, most of which aren't actually cameos or references to other shows that were related to the era. Like, you're not gonna see Freakazoid pop into an episode or something like that. But you will see a Porky Pig, a Sylvester. I almost said Sylvester Stallone. You will see Sylvester the Cat. You will see Daffy Duck. Obviously, who's voicing them is not going to be the same as who used to, but you know how these things go when they're legacy characters. They always try to get someone who sounds close to the original or one of the earlier voice actors like Bugs Bunny. Voice Bunny had about 2 or 3 particular people who were very well known for how they portrayed the character, but almost anybody after them, job is to sound like one of those 3 people. Strangely enough, though, Katie Kaboom is missing. I really wanted Katie Kaboom because, well, Katie Kaboom is a stereotype that still exists and will possibly never die out as long as there are Caucasian teenage females. I don't care if people find that part sexist. It's actually not. A joke is a joke. I miss Katie Kaboom. Please bring Katie Kaboom back. Or, I don't know, maybe Millie Kaboom, Katie Kaboom's older daughter, that she's reluctantly mad, acts like her. There's so many ways you could do something like that. But I digress. Jess Harnell, Maurice, Trey, Rob, they're back. Yes, some of their voices are a little bit deeper, but they can still maintain their pitch and tone to where you know when you hear the characters distinctively. I say, if anything, Tress sounds the least changed and altered in general. She feels like she's closer to Dot than Yakko and Wacko get. However, again, that's just my opinion. In the case of Rob pulling off Pinky, his Pinky sounds pretty much exactly the same. Other than that, though, expect some fresh faces, and I use that term loosely because a lot of other people who show up to portray background characters or characters that are pretty much only going to be in one particular episode, they are very, very, very experienced voice actors themselves, but their character is not meant to show up in that same format, at least, after the initial episode. Oh, and yes, the security guard is back. His outfit color changed, though. I was actually curious if they were going to bring him back. Man, did I miss him. I really did. He didn't do or say much, but I missed him. Expect to see some notable faces like Rachel McFarlane, finally in a role that wasn't given to her based on nepotism, but actually based on quality. For those who aren't sure what I mean by that, she's Seth MacFarlane's sister, if memory serves, or niece. I'm not too sure. But yeah, she's in the show. As well as Maria Bamford, which I recognized her voice immediately. She plays a character named Julia. And of course, there also are some notable people who are just very, very small roles, or maybe they had one or two lines. Expect to see Phil Lamar, as well as Eric Baza or Beza. Again, apologizing for these name issues, who does his little cameo in his Daffy Duck voice. Yes, he can do Daffy Duck, for those who didn't know. And I believe they also had Porky Pig. Yeah, Porky Pig is in there too. Bob Bergen portrays that Porky Pig. I don't know if he's done it previously or not. However, that's pretty much all I can mention. I know people are going to get a little mad, but you said no spoilers. I'm not telling you in what context they show up. Furthermore, you can Google the cast of the show and you will see who plays who. So you know that the characters are there. It's not really a spoiler when IMDb probably got it. That aside, your nostalgic heart will be enlightened and a little bit lighter to know that Yakko, Wacko, and Dot have returned. Hello Nurse was specifically quote unquote canceled by the production staff. However, I feel like that is a tremendous oversight, and I'm gonna just say why. I'm from the original demographic for this show. Dot hit on dudes, tried to kidnap them, and try to marry them whenever she thought they were famous, rich, powerful, and pretty. That's extremely shallow, and it's a little bit dirty. But the show does humor of every single variety. Yakko and Wacko see the nurse and just go, hello, nurse. They don't do anything even remotely similar to the days of yore when that wolf from the Droopy cartoons would beat himself half to death and basically throw himself physically as well as stalk any beautiful lady, of which that character does look like she could, hell, be the daughter of. I don't know if the Hello Nurse actually had a name. I think it was Patty or Tracy. I'll have that show up on screen later if she actually had a name. They could do something as simple as make a reference to it, and then Dot says, okay, so I never understood. Is that just like a catchphrase for you guys? Or do you actually like her? Because every time you say it, it never really ends with anything happening. See, that's a freebie right there. But no, they genuinely erased her. It's even been brought up in an interview. But that's really all I can say as far as things missing. That being said, the voice actor who portrayed her, I believe, does come back at some point. Expect to hear the original sounds as well. We don't really have a sound and audio category, but Julie Bernstein and Steven Bernstein come back, and also the entire sound catalog from the original series seems to have transferred over pretty well. And I am very, very happy about that. They did a good job, and the thing about doing a good job in audio is that when you do a good job, you can be rewarded for it. But it also can feel so natural. People can forget that true effort and quality and talent had to be put in. But I didn't. Julie and Steven Bernstein, I thank you for continuing to do as good of a job as you did back in the early 90s to late 90s. Sometimes just the small sound effects that I hear can bring back memories of older episodes, and I genuinely appreciate that. Also, I feel like they should be selling ringtones for half of the shit. I would love to have a ringtone that's just dun 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 dun. That's how a lot of the episodes end, with that little part going off. So yeah, I don't have any negative things to say about the cast. They do a good job, and when they break the fourth wall and go meta, it still feels as natural and humble as it did back then. The only difference is since I'm older, I know immediately when they're doing it, and it doesn't take a while to register. I will say this, though, and this is the closest I can give to a negative about the voice acting, but it's technically not on them, but there was no other category or place for this to go. Don't expect a lot of people to return necessarily in the state you remember them, or every single thing to come back. For instance, good idea, bad idea. With that little Ben Stein sounding voice, yeah, that's gone. Also, Aunt Slappy and, crap, I've forgotten the nephew's name. Well, I'll throw it on screen later. Yeah, they're completely gone from the intro, outro. The secondary supporting characters and little side things like Rita, Elmira, and all of them, they're all gone. This show is Animaniacs with Pinky and the Brain filling in the middle. So I'm not saying those characters won't show up. I'm saying, unfortunately, you have to expect not to see them a lot. In fact, The mime, which obviously it's a mime. He's even in the intro, which is weird because he doesn't say anything, singing. He only shows up in a random spot that I don't even understand why or how he was there, and then he's never seen again. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. At the time of this recording, there's only been one season. So if he shows up later, hey, don't blame me. I can't predict the future. Please put all the old supporting characters back in. I didn't see hide nor hair of the hippos either. So yeah, this is Animaniacs distilled and refined to Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain. But that's as close as I can give to a negative. Because here's the thing. What's the name of the show? Animaniacs. Is Aunt Slappy an Animaniac? No. Is Buttons an Animaniac? No. Is Katie Kaboom an Animaniac? No. So the variety show elements, or at least skit-based animated variety show elements that used to be there, kind of like a precursor to the Robot Chicken format, gone. It's basically the Animaniacs. But at the same time, is that really a bad thing? They'll live on in 4 seasons and my heart, but they're just not here. Okay, now that that's over, let's go into animation. First and foremost, no, it is not a one-to-one of everything you've seen. Just due to the fact that modern technology and the way we get the imagery has altered and changed, the characters are a little bit different. And let's not forget, this show was made pretty much at the death end of the 4:9 or 4:3 screen ratio. So, besides the fact that there's a widescreen aspect ratio, 16:9, and also anamorphic abilities have been pretty prevalent in a lot of devices, these characters are technically proportioned differently. However, I will say this. For some reason, Yakko's entire build and body and physique seems the most different. If anything, everyone got shorter, even Yakko, but Wacko, it almost seems like he got fatter? Well, hey, you can go on a quinoa salad or get a keto diet situation going on. That being said, I have noticed the lack of tongue-related things with Wacko as well. It could be just they didn't want to animate it as much, or it could just be something they didn't think was that important or that memorable, but it's Wacko. He's memorable for the wacky shit he does. Also, I'm not going to beat into that horse too much. It feels weird talking about what is essentially a cartoon character's tongue a lot. Anyways, other than that, they even mentioned earlier, literally in their own teaser trailer and the first episode, the alteration of switching over to vector graphic styling, so the coloring is a little bit brighter than it was before. Again, not a bad thing. Other than that, the detailings on them and the original characters that have shown up so far is practically the same. However, I do find it a little bit funny that when there's a low effort character or a character who's not meant to, have a big impact on the show is on screen, every so often, or at least in the earlier episodes, it gets called out. In fact, as early as the second episode, the nemesis or temporary enemy for the second episode actually gets called a low effort drawing by Dot. Damn. But rest assured, the rest of the characters, whether they're cameos or one-liners, do not share that, for lack of a better term, lack of effort. Expect pretty much no noticeable errors to show up. Not to mention, this is a streaming situation. If there was an animation error, they could literally go and fix the exact frame and then give it back to Hulu to put up on screen. Other than that, they don't skip a beat. The Folding matches up and syncs well to various issues. The audio and sound effects truly do show off how things should be portrayed or give you a sense of the depth of how things should be portrayed and how severe something should be. And the squash and stretch game is still strong. Now, I know a lot of people thought it might be different, seeing as how a lot of North American or just animation not made in Eastern countries has this obsessive nature with computerizing and digitizing everything. But no, the quality has not dropped. It is different. It is improved, but there was never a subtraction of quality. There is nothing truly lost. However, I think purists, may feel a certain nostalgia or lack of effort may have happened on the part of the production team for not utilizing a one-to-one exact copy, except with maybe different coloring and HD aesthetic put on the show. But I don't see that as a personal issue, and I feel like that falls into the realm of cosmetic gripe, which is the lowest form of gripe, meaning that if they didn't do this one thing, it wasn't going to stop you from watching the show. Oh yeah, they didn't miss a beat. Sync up with the audio and the video is very well thought out, and the meticulousness that went into ensuring that the characters move a certain way or reminiscent of old things they used to do is all there, and I'm glad I see it. And of course, here comes the almighty writing. Okay, I want to just say this real quick because it's rare for everyone to get even so much as an honorable mention. They're lumped together in a mass group, and that's going to happen here too. But I just want to tell Lucas Crandalls, Kathleen Chin, Jess Lotcher, Brian Polk, Andrew Barbett, Wesley Wild, who's also an executive and development team, Timothy Nash, Greg White, Jordan Van Dina, Eric Bronscombe, no, I don't think I said that right either, Brad DePrima, fucked that up too, Ted Mulkerin, Joe Saunders, Ben Warwick, Tom Ruger, and Tom Minton especially, the Toms. Thank you for what you've done. Because the way this show is written makes it feel like almost nothing changed from that first season that made them so magical and epic. And I do mean that. Yes, the writing does update for the era they're in. Yes, the Animaniacs even know for a fact that they were going to come out during an election year. Yes, they know to break the fourth wall, and they even point out issues within their own show in a comedical way, like I mentioned with Dot talking about a character who was animated poorly or with low effort. But listen, when you get Tom Minton, of all people, who's worked on this show and other Warner Brothers related properties, and Ruger together, it's always a good time. But I'm going to say this right now. There is no slouch episode. There will be things people do and don't like about various episodes, or they do and don't like the amount of time that we get with the Warners versus Pinky and the Brain. But listen to me when I tell you, the writing is not bad. Do they make fun of pop culture? Yes. But when did they stop doing that? This show has over 80, if not 90% rating on Rotten Tomato for a fucking reason. It's because the writing is one of the core elements that makes up a good show. And when you boil the water with hype and you mix in good writing, almost no other seasoning and ingredient is gonna make this shit better. Make things flow together and just work so effortlessly together. Jess, Tress, and Rob have all said the writing feels as good as it did back then as it does now. Yes, they are incorporating more things like internet memes, YouTube culture. I'm still waiting on them to do an OnlyFans joke. I think they did an OnlyFans joke. I'm not sure. I'm going to rewatch this many, many times over. But I genuinely and sincerely thank you for what you've been able to pull off. Wesley, come off that Hello Nurse shit, please. I mean, I did see what you said about the Hello Nurse because, well, this wasn't all recorded in one sitting. I obviously look at things with the editing and do other stuff in between then. But look, the goal of this show is to be a good show. Be a funny show. If you don't like how Hello Nurse was portrayed, keep the character, change how it's portrayed. Or since it's the Animax, keep the character, change how the portrayal happens when the character's on screen, and talk about and make fun of what you used to do. It's not hard. It's almost expected. But other than that, I can honestly say very little things without going into spoiler territory, of which I made sure I would not. But I promise you that you're going to recognize the references like our parents did, even if younger children don't. I don't know too many young kids watching Game of Thrones, but they got Game of Thrones references in here. I don't know how you guys managed to do it over 20 years later, but I'm glad you pulled it off. I'm glad you've chosen to use the same people, and I'm glad you chose to work with some of the people who only show up in one episode or a few episodes. Like, we all know Ralph was never truly that important to the Animaniacs formula. But if Frank Welker, who plays Ralph, the security guard, wasn't here, we would notice him. Like we noticed Katie Kaboom and Slappy and all this stuff and their lack of presence and Mittens and Buttons. But I feel like that's just something y'all can easily work in to later episodes. Or you could bring them up and reference them, put them in backgrounds, give them small lines. Same with The Simpsons. The only show that probably is still going to be here long after Animaniacs is gone. They've gotten over 400 or 500 characters that have had speaking roles and have had various levels of importance based on the episode. I feel like y'all can do the same too. But if I had to grade you guys, I'm giving you the A-, 100% or 99%. You get the A-. I love what you did. I love what you did back then, and I look forward to seeing what you do in the future. Hulu, if you're dumb enough to only make this one season, the world will come down on you. Animaniacs is not just beloved in North America. It is beloved internationally. That's pretty much it. I feel like there's some, I don't know, not relation, but genetic similarities between Trey McNeil and Allison Court, or whatever her current married name is, which I forgot. Sorry, Allison. But I honestly don't have anything other than tell you to go watch this. If you want your kids to fall in love with what you fell in love with as a child, don't start them on this, because they won't even get some of the early references that teenagers and young adults are going to get. Start them on the 90s show. Or let them see the movies first. Then let them watch this. And they will fall in love with this just like their future children will. I honestly feel like the Animaniacs should at some point in time turn into legacy characters. They should be just like Bugs Bunny, Tasmanian Devil, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig. We keep seeing them be portrayed, but in different levels and to different extents or different alterations. Fun fact, despite what people think and feel about Bugs Bunny as a character and as a legacy character and aesthetic, him and Batman are some of the two characters that have had the most alterations and changes in media out of every single cartoon character, period, or characters in general, period. Both have over 200 different iterations or forms that have been displayed in media of those two characters. Now, I'm not saying Animaniacs need to hit that number, but I feel like there's nothing wrong with putting them in different formats. Remember, we've had the Looney Tunes in baby format. We've had Next Generation Looney Tunes, which didn't go anywhere, with Tiny Toons, where they were teachers. And we've even had them basically kind of sort of having a PG-13 Simpsons style life for Looney Tunes. I think it was called Looney Tunes Returns or something. Whatever they did back in 2015 or 2014. Also, I think it's truly time to add more characters to the team. I'm not saying magically make another Warner brother and sister, but hey, look, there was Larry, Curly, and Moe, and sometimes there was Gary. Well, we got Yakko, Wacko, and Dot. Why not a foreign cousin they think is weird? Or just a cousin, another female cousin for Dot, and she is basically trying to take over Dot's position, but Yakko and Wacko never notice it. And she comes in and out of the episode as like a rival nemesis. There is room for the family to expand. They don't have to be biological relatives, but there's room to incorporate characters, new or old, and make them more significant and more important. But again, this is just the first season. The main goal of the first season of a continuation show is to show that we haven't missed a beat. The only beat they missed is how vast and wonderful the supporting cast is. So yeah, please go watch this show. I want there to be a season 2. I am rigorously now going to throw this on SoundCloud, then on YouTube with the editing team, and get my friends to watch this shit. Thank you for everything you've done and donated to my childhood, and thank you for everything you've done and donated to the future childhood of my unborn children, my younger nieces and nephews, of which I'm going to force to watch this shit, and my godchildren, who I don't have to force them to watch it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Thank you so much.